So you're in Western Pennsylvania. I'm in Western Pennsylvania. Um, it hasn't been. It's been cloudy and dark. Uh, Terrible weather. It's snowing tomorrow. Just general horrible times. Not because uh of normal weather patterns in January, but because the Steelers brought back Matt Canada, there is a general darkness that has engulfed the region that that has just taken over our lives, and everything is horrible because the Steelers brought back Matt Canada, and that's it. And nothing will ever good happen again until he gets fired. That's it.
Well, I mean, it's definitely one of those clouds. Here's the thing. They've now finished 23rd in offense in back-to-back years. And, 23rd, it's not like 13th. It's 23rd, which means you're in the bottom half, and that's the thing. It's like, well, okay, we finished strong at 7-2. Can't take that away. Not a bad job. But you were hoping, I think all of us were hoping that we were going to have this momentum going into the next season. And one of that momentum was supposed to be a new offensive coordinator. And that's not happening. So we went from probably a week and a half, to 2 weeks, Joe, of, okay, what's next? And what's next was not what a lot of Steeler fans wanted to hear. Not from a guy that just is not getting the most out of his players. And I think really, to defend Steeler Nation, I think a lot of us still feel that we're a little bitter over that time when the Steelers had a pretty jacked up offense with Ben in his prime, AB, good running backs, a time when that offensive line wasn't old, when you had, DeCastro and some great offensive line, great play by the offense, and we're not able to get there then or capitalize on that. And now I think a lot of people think we're back to the same thing. Got a good quarterback. Kenny Pickett's showing capability. He's growing. We got decent receiving core. Pickens has the makings of a next great wide receiver. Good running back. Offensive line starting to gel a little. Great tight ends. And you're bringing back the guy that a lot of people just feel can't get him that next step.
The funny thing to me is that every year there's another excuse with him. 2 years ago it was, well, he has Big Ben, so he really can't put in his offense because Big Ben is an old dinosaur and they can't move. And okay, so then we can't put in the offense. Last year it was Kenny Pickett. He's a rookie. He's a baby. You can't put in the whole offense. Maybe Tomlin told him to tone it down and keep it simple or restricted so he doesn't make mistakes. What's going to be the excuse next year? It seems like there's always an excuse for why he sucks. Maybe it's just that he sucks.
I think you're right. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, I think they were robbed a little bit with Calvin Austin III getting hurt. The rookie they drafted out of Memphis, he does play to Canada's strengths. His pass catching ability is very solid. His speed is incredible. We got robbed of losing him in the preseason. He was out for the rest of the year. I would love to see how he looks, but Calvin Austin III is not going to take this team from 23rd to top 10, at least not under Matt Canada.
Yeah. Going 7-2, really, that's what they all point to. It's like, wow, look how much we've improved. It's like, okay, but really hasn't improved because, is this what we are expecting, that the defense has to give up 15 points or less and that we win every game 16-15? Because that's all we're scoring. That's all we're scoring is like maybe 16 or 17 points a game. Sorry, that don't cut it.
No, not in this league. NFL.
Yeah.
It doesn't cut it. And the other thing too is it just doesn't seem like, when you look right now at what the Bengals just did to the Bills. To me, the Bengals are the favorite going into that Chiefs game. And that Chiefs team has a really great offense. We're not even in the same league as either of those offenses. You could say the Browns were a better balanced offense than us, even though we got the better of them in that last matchup. Yeah, I mean, I just don't see it. It needs a new attitude. And it also goes back to Joe's, what was the communication on with Kenny Pickett and, Trubisky? Didn't Canada, or maybe Canada did say to Tomlin, look, we got to go with Pickett. He's our guy from the very beginning, or we at least got to get him reps with the starting players into preseason. Did Mike Tomlin say, no, we're not going to do that? Or did he not fight enough, or did he not see enough in Kenny Pickett to say, we need to get him first team reps, because he never got it, which that also put us in a hole, because it was evident that Kenny was not on the same page as the receivers for the first 2.5 games, 3 games of his start. Got better along the way. But you have to wonder, had Kenny Pickett gotten the reps he needed and should have gotten, it would have been better from the start. And then the other thing is, if you look at numbers, Joe, we haven't had a double-digit win season in 5 years. One double-digit season in 5 years. Meanwhile, the Bengals went from 10-7 to, I think, 13-3 this year, because the Bills game didn't count, regular season game. So they keep on improving. Not there.
I never I didn't really think of that until you said it. The plan at some point was to bring Kenny Pickett in. It had to have been.
Right.
And if that's the plan, then at some point you let him take reps with the first team. And they didn't. They didn't at all. It was all about preparing Mitch. How did that work out for them?
Awful.
That was poor planning on their parts. That was poor planning, because even Kenny Pickett said, it's like, oh, this is my first time I'm working with the ones, and that was in the middle of the season. Come on.
And everybody was like, you got to be kidding me. It's your first time. So yeah, and that's where, at that point, where was that communication? I mean, again, maybe Tomlin said, no, I want it this way, but I have to figure that a good offensive coordinator has to make themselves heard. And they had to have they would have seen a problem or said, hey, we need to do this. And then for whatever reason, that communication didn't get through. And the Steelers suffered a bit for that.
It really didn't make sense. It really, I didn't even think about that until now. That's just poor planning. Yeah.
Well, it's not only that, but it's also the poor execution. I mean, I found it funny, including myself. There were a lot of other sports media guys from other sports cities taking cracks at Matt Canada when some of these offenses have failed, namely that Minnesota play 4th and 8, and they throw a 3-yard out route to TJ Hawkinson. And, that guy had been going down the field all game long, and that's your play you come up with on 4th and 8. And there was a guy saying it looks like a Matt Canada play. Like, yeah, pretty bad when a reporter out of Minneapolis is taking a shot at Matt Canada.
It's a patented thing. If it's a poorly designed play, they must have Matt Canada it. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, and I do feel like if there was any saving grace for Steeler fans, it was this. Well, let's hang our hat on 7-2. We dug ourselves a big hole. I get it. A lot of young talent. Let's see where we're going. Whoever this new guy comes in can maybe take this offense to where it needs to be, fill the holes, bring in some free agents. Let's see what Omar Kahn does. But before we could get to Kahn, before we could get to free agency, before we could get to any of that, the one thing we wanted to happen didn't happen, and that's why we're all sitting here with that dark cloud.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting. This is Omar Kahn's first draft and first off season. It was all Colbert's last year. He handled the whole thing, and then they gave it to Kahn. So it's going to be really interesting. They have that, who's a Weidel or whatever, the guy from the Eagles. I think it's very interesting to see how they adjust things, because he's, if he's going from what they did at the Eagles philosophy was strengthen the line, both lines, offensive and defensive, and cool, let's do it.
It's gotten the Eagles to a pretty good spot right now.
Yeah, I can't complain about that. What do you think is the top priority in either the offseason, free agency, or the draft?
I think you really got to address, our tackles, and you really got to address both sides of the line, and we're very thin at linebacker, Joe. I mean, we need some other guys to help out there. I know Joey Porter Jr. is a popular pick, right? His dad was Joey Porter, played at Penn State. For all the Penn Staters out there, they'd love to see him there, just as much as Pitt fans like to see Pitt players, right? Kenny Pickett at the Steelers, but I don't know. I mean, there's some other studs out there that I think they need to start taking out. Now, I've said to you a couple times, draft party at Joe's house, do a live broadcast from there, but there's several issues, which is scary. How much can they go and get in free agency? I think they've got to do what a lot of Steeler teams haven't done in the past, is get a little crazy. Yeah, you get every once in a while the Kevin Green or the Larry Foote guys, but you need to go find a Kevin Green, Larry Foote signing this year. You need to find that guy, I think, especially on the defensive line. Because this defensive line, despite Cam Hayward, who we all love, it's not been the same since Stephon Tuitt got injured. And, Stephon Tuitt has not been what he was. He's not anywhere around. He's just he's not there anymore. They drafted Leo from Texas A&M. Didn't make that big of an impact. I wasn't real happy about that pick when they made it. I thought there was other guys. So, yeah, I think they're back to square one on the defensive line. I think that's my biggest thing, would be get that defensive line squared away, and the offensive line.
Cam is amazing.
And he's in his 12th year and final year of that contract, Joe.
Exactly. He is not young. And no. Especially on defensive line, it's amazing. It's amazing that he's still playing at a high level, but that's an anomaly, and you can't count on that. And he's gonna need help. He's gonna need a breather. He can't play a whole game anymore. So yeah, we need to help him out. We need to get his replacement. Whether they bring back Ogunjobi or not, it would be nice. But get an offensive tackle, get defensive line, and just rotate people, keep them fresh.
Yeah, I agree. And, you look at that line, and it's like we don't learn from our mistakes, because I think it's been, since 2012 or 2013, we haven't taken an offensive lineman in the first round. We got so comfortable with the Castro. We got so comfortable with Pouncey. And you're sitting there thinking, these guys are getting older, to the point where it was just done. And we had no one to replace them, So, yeah. And again, I think that goes back to, I have very little faith in what Matt Canada is telling Mike Tomlin I need, or Omar Kahn. If we're relying on Matt Canada, I'm scared. I just hope Omar Kahn, I think we got to hang our hat on Omar Kahn, and Tomlin to a degree.
Maybe he'll want another quarterback or something, or a
punter
or something. Who knows?
I brought that up a couple of podcasts with you ago when they drafted that quarterback in the 7th round, and the Bears, and the guy's name always escapes me. The Bears drafted that tackle in the 7th round. He ends up making NFL all-rookie team. He starts almost 12 all games. He was a monster. They could have drafted him, because the Bears drafted him right after the Steelers drafted that quarterback who didn't even make the team.
Yeah. And I think they're going to need a quarterback. Heck, they should have kept them just for fun. I mean, most likely Mitch Trubisky is going to be gone. Mason's definitely gone, and then now they're going to need 2 backup quarterbacks. So why not have one be a rookie? But we'll see. I would love a stud offensive tackle with their first round pick.
Yeah.
Then go hard defensive line. I know that's a cliche. It's like, well, the Steelers are bad at drafting cornerbacks, but they also draft cornerbacks. They don't draft cornerbacks early, so it doesn't really matter. But you're a Penn State fan. What do you think about Joey Porter Jr.?
He's the real deal. He didn't give up a touchdown this year. He didn't give up a touchdown. I mean, he even in the Ohio State game, which they ended up losing, he had shut Marvin Harrison Jr. down that entire game until Ohio State moved him to the slot, and got Porter off of him. That's basically why they did that. They moved Harrison to the slot, and then Harrison explodes. Penn State didn't have an answer, which they should have. That's a story for another time. But I mean, he's gone up against the best that the Big Tens had to offer, that the SECs had to offer. The kid from Auburn, his name escapes me too. He was all SEC, shut him down. He's physical, and he does have that element of his dad. He barks. He brings that grit. I think the Steelers have that with Watt. I think that Watt is still not a Joey Porter type. You almost need that proverbial asshole. and I remember when Porter was on the cover of SI wearing nothing but his pads, and I think they called him the meanest or baddest man in the NFL or something like that. They kind of need that, and he brings that to the table, that tenacity in the backfield. And I'm definitely not going to be upset if they take him, but I really hope we come out of there with a line. You got to protect Pickett and a defensive line, because our linebackers are being relied on to way too much in pass coverage right now, because the defensive line's barely, other than Cam, getting in a lot of pressure.
Yeah. I've heard a comparison for Joey Porter Jr. to Marcus Peters of the Ravens, and that would be amazing. Yes, please. Yeah, you need good corners, you need a good defensive line, and you need a good offensive line. And that's it. Don't you dare, Steelers, draft a wide receiver early. Don't you dare. I'm telling you, look at me, Steelers. Do not take Jordan Addison in the first round. Do not. Nope. Don't do it. Don't do it. Nope.
We'll have to use the beep button a lot in that podcast.
You know what?
Yes.
Whenever I hear, but he was with Kenny Pickett and they're so good together. You know, it was also really good together. Mason Rudolph and James Washington.
Yeah.
How did that work out?
Not real well. Not real well. I couldn't agree more. I do like Addison. He's a good receiver, but I think he might be okay in the NFL. But I agree. Like, they've got the receivers in place. You can go get receivers. They're a dime a dozen. If you feel like you got to finish out this receiving corps or something, we need linemen. I think that's where it starts. I'll take a cornerback, but they need some guys to get in there. A good nose tackle. They need something. They just do.
And at some point, maybe both inside linebackers. Maybe they need like 2 or 3 inside linebackers. I don't know. We're not rocking with Spillane and Mark Robinson or whatever. That can't be your starting inside linebackers. No. This is a team that needs good inside linebackers, and they haven't had that for years now. Devin Bush was a giant swing and miss.
And he's gone this year.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. Dude. Yeah, you think back to those days when we were contending for the Super Bowl, or going to the Super Bowl, when you had Larry Foote back there, and you had Simmons, and you had some of these guys who were or Timmons. I'm sorry, you had such great depth and chemistry there, and Highsmith was great, but the inside linebacker spot is another one. And they have what, Joe? So they have 2 picks in the first round, and I don't think anybody in Pittsburgh is going to be mad if they go defense. You look at what I keep going back to what the Chiefs did. They scored, like, I think it was Mahomes' either rookie or his second year. They scored 35.5 points a game. They were number 1 scoring offense in the NFL. They didn't get to the Super Bowl. So what do the Chiefs do? They go spend their money on the offensive line and the defense. They fell back to 32 points a game. But you know what? Their defense limited opponents to around 20 points a game, and they go in and win a Super Bowl. And I feel if you want to take the Eagles or the Chiefs, one of those 2 teams, that's who you got to kind of go after. So if they're going to do, like you suggested, which I think is a great point, you bring in this guy from the Eagles, and if they're going to address the line, then go for it. But I think you can also address the line in free agency. It doesn't have to all be predicated on just the draft. But I feel that this is maybe their most important draft and maybe over a decade. It's Kahn's first draft. There's a lot of holes, a lot of depth issues. You need to address those in this draft.
Yeah. Bashing Tomlin is or the subject of Tomlin is a very big topic among Steelers fans, and the people that don't like him point out that his lousy playoff record in the past few years. I think at some point that's okay, because they were basically in a rebuild the past couple of years. You lost your franchise quarterback. Your offensive line has gone to crap. Okay, that was last year. This year you started to build it up, but this is it. This next year is when the rebuild is. We're done with the excuses. We're done with the rebuild. We're done with all that crap. It's time to deliver. It's time to just not go barely above 500. It's time to do better, and it's time to. And if they don't, if they go back, if they go down, then it's time to say, okay, maybe Tomlin, it's time to go.
Yeah, and I mean, it's look, people miss on drafts. Ziggy Hood, I remember him. I mean, what a miss he was. And the Steelers, you can say the same for Tomlin and the kid out of Illinois, the center that they drafted. I mean, he didn't even play this year hardly at all. What a miss he was. He was a horrible, horrible draft pick. He played guard at Illinois, and he switched to centers last year.
Oh, Kendrick Green.
Yeah. They talked about, what he needed to do last year was really hit the weight room and get himself so he wasn't getting pushed back into the quarterback's lap like Ben. Ben was holding him like a baby a few times.
Yeah.
Didn't do it. He's pissed about it. He's a guy that could easily get cut this year after camp. If they address that, he's a guy who can get cut. And they drafted him, second round. So who's ever making their assessments with guys like that, that's a miss. So, yeah, that's why I'm saying you're right. If you want the Tomlin haters to go away, this is the chance, right? This last draft, not horrible. Like I said, we kind of got robbed. I mean, Leal, a rookie, so I'll give him a chance. Maybe he can show something this offseason and play hard in next year. I mean, his wingspan's like almost 6 foot. He's monstrous. He's exactly what they need. Maybe, he can make a lunge forward. So I'm hoping for that. Austin the third, like to see how he plays. You can't give a fair bet on that. Pickett, great draft pick. And Pickens, good draft pick. So not a failure last year. Still kind of to be determined, right? But you got to back that up with a good draft this year. And you got to make splashes in free agency.
Yeah.
Because the AFC North is really good. Not sure if everyone's noticed that. The Browns are good. The Ravens are good. I think a little overrated. The Bengals are really good. So if you're going to, get out of this division next year, you got to have double digits wins. Again, back to the fact they've only had that once in 5 years. You got to get double digit wins. Got to dig yourself out of the basement and challenge the Bengals.
Yeah, you're right. The Browns got a mulligan because of all the stuff that happened with Deshaun Watson. Now he's going to have a full off season, a full training camp. He's going to be better next year, and that could spell trouble. The Ravens, who knows what's going on with them, but they're always good. And then the Bengals are basically the second best team in the NFL right now. So yeah, just getting out of the division alone, or just surviving in the division, is going to be hard enough. So the Steelers got a tough road, and they got to be tough too. So it's going to be real interesting. And I
don't think Steeler fans are too happy today, Joe. I mean, the Patriots brought in Bill O'Brien. I think that's an extremely smart move. Probably the best move the Patriots have done their coaching staff in 5 to 6 years. They bring back the guy they need. And half of Pittsburgh's driving around and they're like, damn it, we have Matt Canada. They got Bill O'Brien.
Yeah.
And now Byron Leftwich, which I think I would have been really happy if they would have brought Leftwich here, and they still might. But that is a guy I would really like to see here.
There is hope. Last year, Brian Flores kind of fell in their lap, and Tomlin basically created a position for him. Basically, just made up a position and said, "Hey, you're helping us out." Maybe something like that will happen. Maybe Byron Leftwich isn't doing anything. Maybe someone else, not to replace Matt Canada, but just to help.
And maybe hopefully eventually replace Matt Canada.
Exactly. Like, hey, bro, maybe lighten up on the jet sweeps or the throws short of the sticks. Maybe.
Yeah. Let's throw a 10-yard passes every once in a while. And
what a concept.
Yeah, I think you said it best a couple of weeks ago when we were talking, and it seemed like they were in like a sinking ship. Like they plugged one hole and then another hole went to hell. I mean, they were doing good, and then they couldn't stop the run for like 3 weeks in a row. I mean, that's a depth issue. When it goes from one area to another, that's what they really need to address: depth and getting some talent on the defense and that offensive line. So they have a lot of work. Can it be done? Yeah. I think they're right there. They're getting close, but this is the most important offseason and draft in over a decade for the Steelers.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
Bar none.
I agree. It's very exciting though that the Bears handed them the 32nd overall pick, which is, here's the really fun thing about that. It's not the first round pick. It kind of is a first round pick, but it's not the first round pick, which means it's the first pick of day 2, which means you're going to have your draft day 1, Thursday night. Things are, everything explodes. Everything's happening. Then they have a day. Teams have a day to look over things. And somebody is going to be available to them that they didn't think so with that first pick in the second round. It's like, maybe we could trade with the Steelers. Maybe we could give them a really good deal. Like, I don't know, a second and a third or 2/3 or something like that. I don't know. And really sweeten it. And, or maybe the Steelers could just, pick whoever, whatever they could use that pick. So maybe they could, work some way. I mean, but 3 picks in the top 50 is just really exciting. You could get something good with those 3 picks. I
think that's what I mean. I mean, they're in such a good position that they haven't been in years to improve themselves in the draft with some youth, and again, free agency, and it just. It's going to be very interesting these next couple of months once we get past the playoffs. If you're, into watching the rest of some of these teams, which, I always find it funny though. Somebody was just telling me this today. I was talking to somebody from Dick's corporate headquarters, and they're like, they're going to release the ratings after the Super Bowl, and it'll be like the city that was in it, and then Pittsburgh will be right there with a bigger rating share than half the nation because we love the Super Bowl.
We love our football. We love. I know I do. This past weekend is one of my favorite weekends because, like, the wild card weekend, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but it's like there's teams that make the playoffs that aren't very good and they get weeded out. But the divisional round, that's when the good teams play each other, and for the most part, and that's when the good games happen. And then and now we get the conference championships, and who knows what's gonna happen. I think it's gonna be Eagles Bengals, although I kind of would like to see Chiefs Eagles so we could have the Andy Reid Bowl.
That would be fun. That would be fun.
So
I'm kind of thinking although, man, the 49ers defense, they are so good. And they remind me of those, early 2000, mid 2000 Steelers defenses. I just don't know if Brock Purdy is going to be able to keep doing what he's doing, but we've seen stuff like that before.
I think Purdy is basically Cinderella, and at some point the clock's going to strike midnight. I just don't think. I think he's just overrated, but at the same time, isn't that what the Steelers are kind of trying to do? The 49ers are what the Steelers wish they were, offensive weapons, amazing defense, but the problem is the 49ers actually do it. And the 49ers actually have a good offensive line. And that makes all the difference in the world, because when you have a good offensive line, your quarterback has time, and even a 7th-round rookie can look good when you have time and you have all those weapons. My goodness.
Yeah, no, it's if there's a team that can beat the Eagles, it's the Niners. Because I don't think if Dallas was somehow won last week, they were not going to beat Philadelphia. It was going to be they're going to kill them. But the Niners have a chance, so that's going to be a great championship game.
It warms my heart when the Cowboys lose. It's
it's great.
It's great. It's just a wonderful thing. It restores really my faith in humanity. God, just so arrogant. There's the arrogance. I was actually kind of I actually thought that the Cowboys would pull an upset, but then you just hear the arrogance from their fans. It's like, oh, please lose, Cowboys. And they just and you know, we complain about lack of playoff success. My goodness, they haven't been to a conference championship in like 30 years.
Or a Super Bowl. We know last time what happened in the Super Bowl. We won't go there much further than mentioning that, but that's a top 5 worst thing for Steeler fans to even talk about. But
where were you? I bet you know exactly where you were on Super Bowl 30.
Oh yeah, I know where I was. I know what we were doing, and just.
I was at a friend's house, and I've never been there before, and I've never been there since. There was like, I don't know. I mean, the house was like full of people, and we were all watching like various TVs and stuff. There was one Cowboys fan, and he was so obnoxious. I'm like, oh, Neil O'Donnell. All
right, since we're bringing up Neil O'Donnell, what did you think about Mendenhall's comments this week? I mean,
what do you say?
Oh, he's blaming Ben, and he's taking a shot at Ben's leadership and bringing up the whole fumble thing again. And it's just, Rashard, it's getting old. And I'll tell you why, because both Joe and I are old enough that we remember, and when you say the fumble, there's one guy, Ernest Biner. And, the tackle missed that one too. Ernest Biner didn't blame anybody else. He sucked it up. He got traded. And he also went on and won a Super Bowl with the Redskins and played very well at the time, the Redskins. Mendenhall just won't let it die, and I mean, like, sorry, dude, you blew it. Maybe there could have been a better block. AJ Hawk took the ball away from you, bud.
You single-handedly blew it. You were Mendenhall was the reason they lost that Super Bowl.
Yeah, wasn't Ben's fault. Wasn't Mike Tomlin's fault. It was you.
One thing about Ben, he has a podcast now, and honestly, I'm surprised that he's not. He's kind of restrained in what he says, and he's not, making headlines, and he's not being a pain in the butt. I mean, he's been asked about Matt Canada many times, and nobody knows him better than him, and he easily could just trash him, and he's keeping nice, and that's I thought that was very interesting that he's so restrained and not,
Yeah, and I think it just takes us back to our original conversation. I respect that, Joe, because again, if the Steelers would have finished top 15, or if he would have improved from 23rd to 18th or something, 17th, you'd have been like, okay, but you're 23rd again. You're the bottom half of the league back-to-back years. Now, he is in the last year of his contract. I don't know what the details of the contract are. It escapes me. But they would have to buy him out, if they were to fire him. And I can't imagine it's that much to have to spend. But, I don't know if that would play into it. But, back-to-back years of 23 out of 32.
I keep hearing that the reason they kept Matt Canada is because, oh, my God, they would have to pay him. They wouldn't have to pay another offensive coordinator. Come on, guys. this is a I can't imagine the profits the Steelers make. I mean, being an NFL franchise, you're printing money, especially when you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they can afford the whatever they're giving Matt Canada, probably like $1 million or something. Like
Yeah,
it's
pay the
probably
man.
chump change. It's not that can't be the reason. That can't be the Roonies can't be that cheap that they say.
Right?
Oh no,
Or
no.
I guarantee you, if we started a fan GoFundMe to pay Matt Canada's salary, we could hit that by February 1st.
We would buy out Matt Canada.
Buy out Matt Canada GoFundMe.
I would, I would, we would probably raise millions of dollars. I would convert that to pennies and put it in dump trucks and just dump it at the door of Acrisure Stadium and just here is your Matt Canada go away money. Here we go on behalf of all Steelers fans.
Right. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's our hope, is that there is a consultant that comes in and
Consults.
It's like, hey,
Yeah.
how about throwing out the plays that suck? How about let's get rid of those? Let's start there.
Yeah. Yep. And but yeah, did Kenny throw some picks? Yeah, he didn't match Ben's picks. What Ben threw 18 his rookie year, or 15, somewhere in there. It wasn't a great rookie year, but you could see the promise. All of us saw the promise with Kenny Pickett. There's no doubt. And anybody that's hating on him, whether you're a Penn State fan, you're just a Pitt guy, you're just hating on him because you don't want to see it. He's a good quarterback. End of story. Doesn't matter whether if he went to Pitt or Arkansas State. He's a good quarterback. Lots of promise. And that's where the tension is, Joe. It's like, okay, we got the guy. He's the guy. We need the guy that's going to help harness that and lead that. And I just don't feel we have it.
And the people that defend him no matter what, he's not perfect. So chill out. All right. Let's stop with the extremes. Yeah, just because you don't like that he went to Pitt, you can't hate on him. And just because he did go to Pitt and you love Pitt, you can't defend him no matter what. It's in the middle. He's good. He's getting better. He's not great yet. Chill, everybody.
Right. He's not there yet, but we saw signs. And that's the thing. It's like, okay, there's hope. And so at this point, Joe, I mean, okay, it's Matt Canada. You know, what are we going to do to make it better? Give Matt Canada a better offensive line. Let's see a healthy Calvin Austin III. And I think he has it. I mean, he's got the tight ends. He's got decent wide receiver depth. We ended up having a decent center. I think they're okay at center. But they need depth. Pickett, obviously good. Running backs, fine. I think they can say goodbye to your favorite guy there, Ian Snell.
Benny Snell football. Yeah. Bye, Benny. Yeah.
A little Pirates shot there, but yeah.
Ian Snell. Yeah.
Ian Snell, Benny Snell.
The old pitcher. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So, no, you take care of Benny Snell. I mean, we have it there. And that's why I think, offensive line, get that fixed and
I wonder
bring it together.
I wonder if Derek Watt's coming back. He was making a lot of money.
He was. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. 4.5 mil, I think it was. Yeah.
That's a lot for basically special teams. I think
it's
you could go a little cheaper
there. Almost as the Jeff Carter and Kaepernick contracts that
yeah.
But that's what I mean. I mean, right? I mean, you look at the parallel and we can I think officially say that Ron Hextall has not done a great job since coming over GM from the Penguins. Way too much money to give to Jeff Carter, way too much money to give the captain. And because of that, we're basically hosed this year. We have no money really to go get anything we need. We need another puck moving defenseman other than Letang. There's a lot of things they need, and we can't have it. So that's why, again, biggest draft in over a decade, maybe 15 years for the Steelers. And it's on Omar Kahn and Tomlin to come together and make it right. And free agency.
Huge off season. We'll see. They had a good off season last year, but now this is and this is Omar Kahn's first off season. Maybe maybe not, but maybe he'll say, okay, some of these guys are Colbert's guys. I don't want them go. I mean, I know it's more complicated than that, and
Yeah.
I know Tomlin has a lot to say in that, but I just wonder if it's going to be a different philosophy. It should be interesting.
I get the feeling it is. He seems a little more radical, and I think the Steelers need some radical. They need to take some chances. They need to go get some guys, and they need to draft the right guys. So, yeah, I don't think I've ever looked forward to a draft as much as this year's because, I mean, I think last year we all kind of knew most likely we were drafting Kenny Pickett. Now, the center from Iowa was probably right there in the mix. Ravens got him and he worked out great. Of course he did because he went to the Ravens. But this one, maybe even more anticipation, because of what we have. Because you're coming off of going 7-2. You went 2-6 to start off the year. But I think a lot hinges on this. It really does.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun. And it's no use looking at mock drafts and stuff now. There are so much that's gonna happen in the next couple months.
Yeah, people are putting it on Twitter. I wouldn't mind this. I'm like, dude, you don't even know.
You don't know anything, bro.
Yeah.
Shut up. Just stop.
Yeah. The only thing you can look at right now is maybe round one and pick and choose who you think you'd like to see. You start going rounds 2, 3, and 4. I mean, that's impossible to do that right now. There could be it's like a fantasy football draft. What if there's a run on receivers? What if there's a run on tight ends or defensive linemen? I mean, that could force anyone's hand. It's kind of funny how they parallel each other, but that's true. How many times have you sat in your fantasy football league and there go the quarterbacks, and you're like, I better.
Strategy changed.
Yep.
Yeah. That's funny. Every mock draft expert, their draft is invalid after the first trade. That's it. Everything goes to hell. Like, oh, well, this everything that I said, never mind. I just like doing those mock draft simulators because it's like, okay, it's your turn to draft. What's out there? It's like, ooh, do we want an offensive tackle? Do we want a linebacker? Do we want a quarterback? That's fun to do. But guys, don't take them seriously because come on, nobody. Shut up, guys.
I'm with you on that. Like I could go for like if you put offensive tackle, DB, linebacker, something like that. But when you're actually starting to throw these kids' names out, you have no clue past the first round.
We don't know. Yeah. We don't know. All right, sir. Thank you very much.
Yep.
I feel better. I got some things off my chest. Seriously, Steelers, don't draft Jordan Addison. Do not do it. You know what? I hate him. Not him. I don't blame him. But the way USC took him, I hate University of Southern California. They could all go to hell. I don't care. I hate how that whole thing went down. I get that's how college football is now, but they stole him from Pitt.
Yeah, he made more money this year than Juju Smith-Schuster did in Kansas City. I mean, there's no way a college receiver should make more than a pro receiver should. No way. I don't like USC either, but the NIL, not a fan.
Everything shaking down from the whole NIL thing is going to it's just going to see how that whole all shakes out. I wonder if we're going to get kind of like in baseball where you have your rich teams and your poor teams. You're going to have your rich schools and your poor schools. And somebody has a really good year at a small school and they're like, okay, here I go, going to transfer somewhere else. I don't know who it was. It was one of the draft prospects, and they're like very surprised that he actually might enter the draft because he's making more money in college from the NIL stuff. How crazy is that? It's like, you know what? I think I'll stay in school and make some money instead of what I could make in the NFL. How crazy is that?
There was even more of a glaring stat because I think the portal closed last Friday. So there's a deadline for it. And I think there was a ridiculous amount there was like 1,400 guys that entered the portal, and there was more than half of them returned back to their teams. So I look at that two ways. One, you didn't get what you wanted. Two, you tried to leave. Now you're coming back. I mean, what's that say to your teammates?
What do you do? It's like if you quit your job and you come back like Costanza, like, oh, hey guys, I'm back. Like, Didn't you tell us to screw off? Didn't you tell us you don't want to be here? Now you're crawling back on your hands and knees. Okay, dude, get to
Right.
the back of the line. Get to the back of the depth chart. I mean, yeah, there's a lot going on. I don't
You can't be
football.
T-Bone anymore.
Yeah, football isn't like like a plug and play kind of sport like baseball or something like that. You need years to develop and work with an offense or work with the coaches and stuff. You don't just jump from team to team, year to year. Heck, we even see that in the pros. People, we get a free agent and that free agent stinks or something like that. That's a huge gamble. That's going to be interesting to see how that all shapes up.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that Penn State fans, I mean, maybe I'm being hypocritical there because I tell you what, they just grabbed 2 stud receivers in the transfer portal that they needed bad, and they got them. I mean, I have a feeling Penn State's going to be very good next year. Most of that team is returning. They're going to be tough, and a big part of that's because of transfer portal. Because if they didn't get those wide receivers, one's Malik Williams out of Florida State, and the kid from Kent State who really turned some heads this year. A lot of people thought he could have gone, top 3 rounds in the NFL, and he still decided to stay in college. And like you said, though, because he's probably can make more money. So it's like a 2-way street. Like, well, yeah, but we got this, But for me, it's just, again, I wonder about what that says about just a lot of things, in the way you look at it. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't think it was fair to Pitt to lose Addison to USC because they paid him so much money. There's a couple of games you could have used him.
Yes, that's true. That's
true. But hey, they can draft him, Joe, if it's like the 5th round and he's still there. But don't draft him the first 4 rounds. That'd be my only contention.
Yeah. And it's also funny how much money goes around with this NIL stuff. Like, yeah, you're throwing millions of dollars. If they only used some of those millions of dollars for the Matt Canada buyout fund, then the Steelers would be in better shape.
Or it's like you say, I mean, it's sadly kind of like the Pirates. I mean, you could say to like this kid from Kent State, like, look, you didn't get picked by a big school. Go to Kent State, build your resume, and then your sophomore year, you can leave for one of the bigger schools. That kind of sucks for Kent State. It kind of sucks for Toledo or Buffalo, and some of these MAC schools where, you had a guy like Big Ben who went 4 years to Miami and, did it the right way, became a stud.
A player like Big Ben would spend 1 year at Miami, have a good year, and then he would go to Notre Dame or Clemson or Oklahoma or Michigan or something, and that's just how it's going to be, and it's all going to trickle down. But I mean, really, it's kind of how it was anyway. It's like Alabama's always good, Georgia's always good, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Clemson. It's always like the same 5 or 6 teams. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, we definitely will. It's just interesting how it's going to be though here with all that change and all the kids that are coming out this year. It's a pretty good class with a lot of talent. So hopefully we can capture some of it, Joe.
Yeah, it's going to be fun with all those draft picks. Thank you, Bears, for Chase Claypool. We will cherish that 32nd pick very much.
Yes.
That was one of the best stories of the year. Is after they traded Chase Claypool, it was like, okay, root for the Bears to lose, and they sure lost. They lost like every game after they got him.
Yeah, and I think he only had like 7 or 8 catches. Like
he was horrible.
He was bad. We knew that.
Who knew? Who saw that coming besides every Steelers fan? Whenever they traded Chase Claypool, we're like, good luck. Oh, somebody wanted him.
Right. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Oh, boy. All right, sir. Hey, thanks so much.
Thanks, Joe. Have a good night.
Hey, we'll see you.